everyone, and welcome to Time SEO. I'm SEO Joe Blogs, growth marketer at Authoritas, and I'm joined here by Carrie Shepherd, marketing executive at Authoritas.
Hi, guys.
And you would have probably heard, a lot from Carrie with the emails too. She's been keeping up to date with our agenda. And today we are also joined by Miranda Gahrmann, who is a well-known international SEO consultant who will be sharing some tips around managing remote teams across the world. Now, does everyone have their tea and cake ready? I've got mine.
Got mine.
Very good. You can, of course, have some virtual cake and tea with us or coffee with us anytime, 4 p.m. Every weekday, except bank holidays. So before we kick off, I just wanted to say hello to everyone joining us. Patricia, thank you. Hello, thank you for joining. Lawrence, Raphael, great, perfect. So I wanted just to, I think everyone can see the screen. We're going to be sharing the slides afterwards, and we'll also be sharing the link to the video as well for those that can watch it later. So our Time SEO really is about connecting those that are working from home now. Some people are working from home that don't live with anyone, so it can be a lonely time. At the same time, there are others that have all their children and they're homeschooling them, so it's quite a noisy time. But we want to use this tea time as a 15-minute break so that others can connect with each other, learn something new, and have these actionable insights to then implement straight away. So today we have Miranda Gahrmann, and she's going to be talking to us about managing SEO performance across remote teams. So I'll pass over to Miranda. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. So yeah, maybe just very short about who I am. So I'm now working 11 years in search and always mainly in the international field. And background is that I also have a master in digital marketing and a master in brand management. And I'm based between Dubai and Egypt, but currently in Egypt.
Great, yes, you've got wealth of experience, and Miranda was also at International Search Summit in Barcelona. So I'm in Barcelona, Miranda's in Cairo, and Carrie's in Putney. So we're an international team here. So I'll pass over back to you, Miranda.
Yeah. So just more as a start. So actually, I worked with 3 different type of remote workers. One is that I was working for an agency, but we outsourced everything to a team in India for implementation. So there, they were directly part of my team, just in a different location. Then at my time at Philips, we also had I was working in a global role. So we had all the markets in different countries. And they had to meet certain targets. So every year they, for example, minimum 20% traffic growth. So we had more authority than, for example, now the case with Randstad. So with Randstad, every market is operating autonomously. And in that way, you have less control, less influence about how to get SEO performance. So it's more an efficacy role as well. So then you need to show more data, show best practices, what's really working to make sure that they are on board. And then, of course, the regular steps to make sure that you increase the SEO performance. So that's more on the different cases. But one of the things what I noticed with the remote workers, it's very important to set very clear expectations. So, for example, what needs to be delivered per week? What are the goals? What we are striving for to make sure that everybody is on the same page. At the same time, to make sure that you really define the process. So if we, for example, do keyword research, how we can collect the inputs? What should then also the format look like? Because one thing, if you ask somebody for a keyword research, one person can come back to you with a list of 20 words, another one with 2,000, 20,000. So it's very important to have formats and to also give trainings and define the processes how they should come to that format. Training is just very important to make sure that although they are on different locations, that you're sure of their knowledge, and that you also increase them, take them to the next level. And in terms of, it would be good to set out as well how would you prefer to communicate. So, for example, with one client, we have every morning we have like a 15-minute update call just to make sure that everybody's online. What will we be sending today, so everybody's on the same page. And it's good to have like, especially if you're working with a team, for example, have like a team meeting, but also one-on-ones. It's very important. And then with remote workers, like if you give them a task, then some prefer, it also depends on culture a lot. Some prefer that you just like they give the text, you give them the test, and they come back when it's ready. But especially in some cultures, if you don't check up on them along the process, you give them the impression that it's not really important to them, or it's not an important task. So that's if you give a test, it's good to ask like, so what would you prefer? Do you, that we check in when you send it, or that we, for example, have a check-in half during the way to see what you already got? So that's it's good to ask that at the beginning.
Can you just say that one again? I think the sound was just coming in and out. So in terms of preferred way to communicate, you're saying that some countries prefer for you to ask those people, oh, how are you getting on with the task? Is that correct?
Yeah. So, for example, what we had with the team in India is that if you don't necessarily check in with them a couple of times, or you're not checking their work, they quickly get the feeling that the work was not that important, or the test was not that important. So for them, like it helped more if you were like checking like every 3-4 days, for example, like how's it going? You need any help? Can you already show some sample how far you are? So that's whereas if you would do that in for example more Western cultures, it can be annoying if it feels like if you're chasing them every time. So that's why it's good to ask them also in advance what way they would prefer.
Okay, good. Thank you. So just to confirm on that, so when you're working with India, they liked you to check in on, how they're getting along. But if you're working with European countries, that would probably come off as annoying. So just clarify that. I'm just saying that because I think your sound was coming in and out. So I'm not sure if you can get a bit closer to the microphone.
Yeah, I'll also speak a bit louder.
Okay, thank you.
And also the same is with cultural differences. So if you work, for example, with Germans and you ask them to deliver on a certain date, they will make that date, and sometimes they're also early. Whether some cultures can be a bit later, or like so it's good to always have like a barrier in mind for like your own deadline. But it's good to invest like some time in cultural differences, because it does influence how you need to manage like certain teams in different countries.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's more like from the setup. Then while you're on the process, it's good to focus on goals, not necessarily on time or like how have they worked like the full day, but mainly in the beginning of the week, set what you want to expect for them, like at the end of the week, and steer on those goals. So the goals should be really like the main output of the manager. And then to make sure that you keep a good contact with them and that they also feel like part of the team, it's good to schedule video meetings. So we can either like we use Google Hangout a lot or GoToMeeting. And next to the team meetings, also to have one-on-ones to make sure that you are like checking in with the person. That if there's something that they tell you that, they will tell you earlier in a one-to-one than in a team meeting. Another thing is that I find important is to communicate positively. And one thing what you have, for example, in Arabic countries is loss of face. So if you say in a group meeting, like, okay, this was not very smart of you, you could have done better in this way, it can be seen as very offensive. So that's why if you can think like, how can I frame a message positively? So okay, we did it now this way, but perhaps we get a better performance if for next time we also do this and this. So it's always communicate positively. And especially like always be responsible and available. So we have Slack for most of our communication. So if there's any questions that they very quickly are getting an answer, and that they can quickly continue also with their work. And then one thing what we have now, because I have now been working remote for 6 years, but now almost with Corona, everyone is working remote. So with some clients, we have now as well on Thursday, like virtual team gatherings where we have like cheering for the weekend. So it's a bit more informative talk, but it's good to have that team spirit and to have a good connection.
Yeah, that's great. So in terms of managing some of those goals and setting those goals, what kind of tools would you use to help you do that? So for example, we use Trello at Authoritas. What sort of things would you use and do you think is really helpful?
Trello is a good one as well. We use that as well. And we also have Jira, but Jira is more for like developers. So if we focus on the technical SEO, we have user stories. And then in Jira, we can track the performance, how is it going, everybody, we can tag persons. So Trello is more like, for the task we need to do. But really, if we like deliver something, so build and then it's finished, the user stories, we more use Jira for that.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and I just have one question about your virtual team gatherings. What platform do you use for that then? Is it different to what you'd use? Oh, Google.
Yeah, Google Hangouts.
Okay.
It's more.
Yes.
It's more because that's the. For example, in Randstad we use the Google Suite, so then it's like everything, almost all products what we use are from Google. Yeah, but it can be any. I know that some also Zoom is very popular. I use in going to meeting myself because Zoom is not always working in Dubai, so that's depending on location as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Miranda. We'll go over to some questions, if there's any questions from the audience. And just say hello to Alice for joining, also Rami, Helen, Reed, hello Reed, Patricia, Raphael, Julian. So I have a question, Miranda. In terms of, obviously now everyone's doing a lot of remote working now. How would you find, what tips would you recommend for people to be the most efficient at home? Perhaps some people now maybe are not used to remote working. So how would you, if someone, for example, is wanting to measure the performance of their teams and they're actually not used to doing remote, what would you use to help them?
One of the terms in terms of like efficiency, for me it's mainly about goals. So
it's goals, sorry.
Yeah, goals. So if you in the beginning, or in beginning of the week, you state, okay, this is what I need to have for you this week. So for example, like optimization for these kind of pages in this format. In that way, I can then measure them their efficiency.
Okay, good. Oh, we have another one from Lawrence, actually. Are there certain types of SEO tools that you would seldom or never outsource?
Yeah, well, you ask a perfectionist, so it's a bit, sometimes a bit rough or tough to like outsource things. One of the things is keyword research. So although you can outsource it, it's the very base of the SEO strategy. So that's why I usually do that part myself to make sure that that I know for sure like all the keywords are in it, so that also the strategy which is based upon that that is based upon like good figures. So that's usually an essential part that I prefer to do myself. And then things what I, for example, easier find to outsource is content writing. So that takes a lot of time. and they're just like checking the performance then of the article what they created. Another thing what I usually prefer to do myself is technical SEO, to make sure also again to make sure that like nothing is being missed. Yeah, so those are usually the type of tests that I prefer to do myself.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Have we got any more other questions from the audience? I think, no, not for the moment. But Alice says she loves GoToMeeting.
Yeah.
So we have Zoom, GoToMeeting, Hangouts to use and connect to others. So thank you very much, Miranda, for joining us today on our Time SEO. You can find us tomorrow, same time, 4 p.m. BST, for having Pierre Farr and Laurent Borrelli join us for Chasing the Algorithm, Penalties and Eat. And we'll be sharing this video on YouTube later and the slides towards the end of the week. Thank you very much all for coming today.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.